Hello everyone! In this video, we're going to show you how to make galapo. It's a steam bun with a sweet pillowy bread exterior with a savory pork, egg, and Chinese sausage filling. It's like a giant portable dumpling and great as a snack. The first thing that I usually do is boil my eggs. While the eggs are boiling, I like to brew my yeast. To do that, warm up 2 cups of milk on the stovetop until it starts steaming, but not boiling. Then I take a tablespoon of sugar and pour it in, as well as the yeast. So don't stir your yeast like I did because it's gonna clump up. Now leave it for 10 minutes and go check up on your eggs. Once the eggs are cooked, remove it from the water and carefully put that water into the oven. So after 10 minutes, your yeast should have blossomed like this. It's like a foamy texture on top. If you don't see this, your yeast is dead, you need to buy new yeast. We're gonna use a stand mixer with a dough hook attachment to make the dough. I'm gonna mix my dry ingredients. So this is the first cup of flour, the second cup of flour, the sugar, some baking soda, a little bit of salt, and now I will just turn it on very low speeds until the dry ingredients are mixed. Then pour in the milk slowly. Of course, you can do this all by hand if you really want to. It's great exercise, but I'm old now. I don't have anything to prove, so I'm going to use a stand mixer. So let it mix until the wet and dry comes together and forms a clumpy dough. So this is not ready yet, but right here, you can see that it's mostly combined. Now let the stand mixer knead it for 10 minutes on a low level. Our level was 2 out of 10. After kneading, you will get this really doughy consistency and it's gonna be really stretchy like this. While it's stretchy, it's also pretty sticky. You can see it kind of sticks to my fingers. At this point, you can remove it from the stand mixer and take the dough hook out and then form it into a ball. It doesn't have to be a perfectly round shape as long as it's round. And now you're going to cover it with a damp cloth. And remember how I said to put the hot water into the oven? By this time, your oven should be warm. It's the perfect spot to put your dough. So take the water out, put in the dough, and close the door. Just let it rest for 1 hour. While the dough is resting, you want to mix your filling. So we just got some ground pork here and some Chinese sausage that I've cut into small pieces. These are some onions, green onions, garlic, 1 egg, lots of black pepper because we love that, MSG, oyster sauce, and some salt. Then all you gotta do is mix it. For the filling, you can customize it however you want. Just be mindful that if you put vegetables with high water content, the bottom of the buns might be soggy. So this is what the mixture looks like. We like a lot of onions, so you can see a lot of onions in ours, but honestly, you can really flavor it however you want. Speaking of flavor, take a small bit of it and just cook it on a skillet. Once it's cooked, taste it and adjust the seasoning of the filling to your heart's desire. Here we add a little bit more oyster sauce and sriracha. Mix it well and cook it again to make sure that you have dialed in on that perfect filling. Feel free to repeat these steps as often as you need in order to get the perfect filling. Don't be afraid to recruit someone in your family to taste this with you. That way you can guilt them into making 24 galapos with you, or prep any of the other fillings. So after an hour, you can remove the dough from the oven. Also, don't forget to flour your clean surface area. Your dough should have doubled in size. It should have a smooth outer layer and feel like pizza dough. It should also not be sticking to your hand like it did before. Now you can just remove it from the bowl onto your floured surface. It's a pretty big piece of dough, So I like to just roll it out and cut it in half. Now each half you'll want to get 12 pieces out of them. That's 24 pieces total. I like to use a scale to make sure that I'm separating them out equally, but you can eyeball it. So one half of my dough was like 800 grams. So you divide that by 8 and you get 66.67. So I'm just loosely measuring them. Some are 65, some are like 68. I'm just kind of doing this as a ballpark. And if you're weighing them, it actually takes a lot of time because you're weighing each one, cutting it a little bit at a time if it's too heavy, and adding a little bit at a time if it's not heavy enough. So if you're making it for your family, you don't have to measure it out. So I like to use these parchment cupcake liners. It just saves me a little bit of time, but if you don't have these, just cut up some parchment papers. Make the galapos. You just take one of the doughs and stretch it in your hand. You could roll it out too if you don't want to stretch it out by your hands, but this is the process that I'm used to. I like to stretch it out until it's like 5 or 6 inches wide. Once I'm happy with the dough, I lay it flat on my hand and kind of cup it a little bit so that it can receive the filling. I start with the ground pork and then top it off with the egg and the sausage. To close it off, I pull opposite ends of the dough to meet in the center and pinch it. Then I just keep folding in the edges so that they all meet in the center and then pinch them all together. The dough should be pretty stretchy, but be careful not to poke any holes. Once all the edges are pinched together in the center, hold the bun in one hand and shape it with the other until you get a beautiful little bun. Then you put it on the parchment paper and onto the top part of the steamer. You will want to steam in batches, so once you fill the steamer, you'll steam that batch in one go. So here's the top view of the bun assembly. So in my hand is the dough and I'm just pulling the edges of the dough. As I'm pulling, the dough is stretching, but as I stop pulling, it will contract. So I just keep pulling gently until the dough is about 5 or 6 inches across. This dough must have been a larger piece of dough, so I was able to stretch it wide enough where it covered my hand. So if you get holes like this, all you gotta do is pinch the dough together and it should come back. That's one of the downsides of stretching it too thin. Now just fill it up, then bring opposite sides together. I like to start with the sides and then bring the top and the bottom side together, pinching it each time and then taking in the corners. And just keep pinching until it's all combined. Then of course gonna shape it. And as I'm shaping it, I'm also looking for any holes. And here I noticed this hole right here, so I just pinched it. Honestly, probably could have done a better job pinching this hole, but it's too late now. Put it on the parchment and then put it in the steamer. Once you get a full batch like this, now you can start the steaming process. Notice I have a lot of space between my buns. You're gonna need it because the buns are gonna expand. I try to leave at least like 1 inch in between. So make sure that the water in the bottom half of your steamer is boiling rapidly. Otherwise, it might not cook properly. It's very important to make sure that you have enough water in the bottom of your steamer to steam that batch. So cook each batch for about 15 to 18 minutes. When they are cooked, they will be a lot larger than before they were cooked. I think they taste best right out of the steamer, but it's a little hot for some people to handle, so you may want to cool them down before you serve them. I think one of my favorite parts is the fluffy bread because it's sweet but not too sweet. It's also really fluffy. The filling's also delicious. If you don't have access to a Chinese sausage, you can use Polish sausage if you want. I mean, make it your own. You could really stuff this with anything. Some people put quail eggs instead of chicken egg. Other people put mushrooms. You can totally turn this vegan if you wanted. Anyway, thank you for supporting us and watching our video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments below. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get more content like this in the future. See you soon!